You are listening to the Guru Code podcast with me, Liz Smith. I would like to welcome you to the Hygge Hut, home of the Guru Company, where it's all about you, growing you, and recognising the real you. It's where we seek to challenge the real issues, problems, blocks, the blind spots which hold so many of us back from leading fearlessly. We want to talk about those topics which are rarely discussed openly in the business world, but are familiar to most of us. A mind tuned for business. You see, now, I think our mind is just the most valuable business asset or leadership asset you will ever have. So it matters about what mindset you are living with. So I am going to actually ask you a question. How frustrating are you? Not how frustrated you are. That would be a simple answer because you'll have it and it'll just drip off your tongue. But how frustrating are you? Puts a whole new slant on it. Now, I once had a colleague who came for supervision, and he spoke about some of the concerns that he had about his team not gelling, low motivation, low morale, high sickness levels, bickering in between, between each other, and not actually hitting the targets. So I wanted to ask him a question because questions really deserve thinking about. And that question was, what is it like to be led by him? This simple question delivered, no kidding, the most amazing chain reaction. The following month, he came back for another supervision session and he reported increased team performance, improved morale, a happier leader. I mean, you couldn't fathom the pleasure that he had in reporting these things. Now, I know there was more to it, but the question was the thing that unlocked the chain of events that changed the destination and the future of his team. So I want to take you on a little journey to do something similar with our own minds, okay? Because sometimes holding a mirror up to yourself can reveal those answers to your blocks. Who knew that they would exist within you and not externally? Imagine being a visitor from another galaxy, sent with the sole purpose for studying you, your leadership skills, your business acumen. Okay? What would they see when they're observing you? What would they see? What would they write in their report? What words would they use? What specifically would they identify in you that they would want to model and master? Have a think about those questions. Many people I come across haven't put much effort or investment into looking at the organ grinder. They are, however, very happy to curse the organ for bum notes and dissect the monkeys at the same time. So in this episode, I want to invite you to metaphorically hold that mirror up to yourself and ask, what will it take for me to be incredible? All my life, I have wanted to be someone. Now I realise I should have been more specific. This is a classic quote because two people have been noted as saying it and owning it. Either it's Lily Tomlin or Jane Wager. One or the other, but it's exactly my point. It's that specific that we need in order to own where we're going. Now, I don't believe any of us are in business, positions of leadership, responsibility, the decision maker, looking only to be mediocre or to achieve mediocre results. Because what would be the point? I'm happy to be proved wrong, but I think the fact that you're actually sitting here listening to this with me in your ears, is enough to say that you don't want mediocre results from all your efforts. Now, I have seen many leaders come up through the ranks, and if you listen to them, it's a case of, I could do that better. I mean, to be fair, I could run the country better. I could make Prime Minister because I got so many opinions. However, it's the same with business owners and leaders, isn't it? And entrepreneurs. The promise of, 6 figures in 6 hours, or actually, they all just seem to sit in their office all day. They can take off and go and play golf when they like. It's the quick buck thing. And they fall at the first hurdle because it's tough. It's tough. You have to have the right mindset. So let's just start exploring by asking a few more questions, should we? So how is it that most people won't achieve what they are truly capable of? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that they don't achieve their goals in life, which they set. This is a completely different question, because we can set really low targets and smash them. That's not what we're talking about. Given an equal playground with the same targets, what is it that makes some people so much more significantly successful than others? Because my suggestion to you is that it doesn't lay with what you know. It's about how you think about it. And Thomas Edison, again, I'm sorry, I love my quotes, but there are some clever people out there. If we all did the things that we are truly capable of, we would astound ourselves. I mean, that's just so much the truth. How many people go, I didn't think I could do that. Think differently. You'll achieve more. So, testament to this is Roger Bannister and the 4-Minute Mile. For years, no one thought they could smash it. And he just, I can't even remember what he did now, 3 minutes something, wasn't it? But after that, it was like he broke it, which then allowed other people to come smashing through it. It's like I think it was under a year. Before it was broken again. And since then, the record has been repeatedly broken. Now, Roger Bannister is recorded, and obviously, who knows, because everyone records things differently, but he said he visualized his achievement. He visualized actually doing this physically and mentally before he even stepped foot onto that track. So he confirmed it was all in his mind before it actually started. So he knew it was going to be possible. Now, some months back, I had a conversation with a fellow coach. In fact, he's my coach. So if you're listening to this, you know who you are. And the conversation was about what is it that stops people moving forward when they frustratingly have the necessary skills, they can see their goal, but still no movement. So I did what I always do, and I try and find an analogy. So I use the analogy of hiding behind a tree when you were a child. The tree is the base, the safety, it. When you play catch, it, whatever you call it. Knowing you can see the person who is it, you can see your friends being chased. So you're monitoring speed, you're monitoring the tactics, you're coming up with your plan. But nothing you could do if you left that base. So whilst you were holding onto the tree, you were safe, okay, until you were ready. And you waited for that right time, that perfect moment when you would make that dash to freedom and that dash to the winning post. It was a dead cert you were going to make it. Now, if we're doing that in business, there's no dead cert. Okay, there's no perfect time. So we have got to be able to make those decisions much quicker. So it's innate in all of us as human beings to avoid pain, avoid threat, avoid failure, and stay in our zone of genius. We've all seen it. We're probably some of us have stayed too long in jobs because it's the big fish, little pond. type scenario. But you don't grow any bigger. Once you set those boundaries of that goldfish bowl or whatever it is, you don't grow any bigger, mentally, physically, anything. Okay. So although, as I already said in episode 1, your ego, is it big enough for business? We as business owners and leaders are not your average Joes. So stop trying to play like it. The battle of all of that stuff, that discomfort and all the rest of it, is still in us. It's just how we need to think about it that's going to change. That desire for clarity and certainty, that need to weigh up risks, the balance, fors and against, it's there. It's part of life. But we have big dreams. And when we talk about them endlessly, about our whys, and get excited when we feel the entrepreneurial flush of adrenaline, and then nothing, tumbleweed, silence, inactivity. You see, in my experience, the more times these ideas remain, or the longer these ideas remain in your head, the more your mind believes you've already achieved them. Our minds do not know the difference between reality and fantasy. If it did, Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, and all those other greats would have had so many problems selling their films and their books. You see, when our plans and our fantasies remain in our minds, you run the risk of satisfying your appetite for that thrill, and the motivation just subsides, like the tide going out. You know, everything has been created twice. Once in your head, and then once when it's actioned. You just think of the parties that you've planned. Maybe if you've planned a wedding, or maybe if you've planned, I don't know, a huge celebration. First of all, you have a picture in your mind. But it's not until it's actually executed do you see it in its full Technicolor glory. And when you've done that, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So when it comes to having your mind tuned for business, we must get those plans and those fantasies and those dreams, and we must get them done by understanding our decision-making criteria so that we take action at the moment that it's ripe, at the peak of its energy. So think about the wave. If you've ever been surfing, you know, there's no point in letting that big wave go into shore and then we paddle like fury after it because it's hard bloody work. No, we're talking about using the crest, the peak of that creative moment, and then we ride that wave in. Warts and all, if we fall off in the middle of it, it's fine. We just catch the next one coming in. It's okay. We just get back on our board. So think about it. We take automatic decisions every second of the day, where a decision is made without what we think is thinking. So we put the alarm on snooze, maybe we pick the drink up and we have a sip when we're not thinking about it. I've put things in my mouth, sweets and things, just as I'm about to talk. It's just one of those things, isn't it? And then there are logical decision makers. You know, those times when we need to have planning, we need detail, we need figures, we need outlines and goals, and we've got to be really clear because we need both, don't we? We really do need both of those things in our world. There's space for both, but what we can't afford is procrastination. And it was the lovely Henry Ford, who's offered us so many quotes in the past, who said, you can't build your reputation on things that you are going to do. That doesn't happen. We can probably all relate to a time when we, despite massive effort, massive planning and consultation processes, and the project just falls like a wet squib, even when you deliver it. It's like everything you wanted it to be, but it's like, I'm so done with this. And it's because the procrastination to me is the killer of that motivation and that excitement. And yes, I have been absolutely in that field. Like, I've been so desperate for it to be perfect, and when it's delivered, it just doesn't feel the same. You know, that planning that perfect dive off the highest rock into the ocean, only to find when you're just ready, yep, tide's gone out. So, you know, when we start to tune our mind for business, it has to be about decision making and being able to make those decisions neatly, clearly, leaving a bit of excitement there, but absolutely knowing that clarity is the gift that we're looking for. And I'm going to use the word criteria. So it's just like a manual. Whatever it is that you're into. I'm going to use food because I love cooking and I love eating, but it's that recipe that makes the outcome what you're after. It's no good leaving sugar out, or it's no good leaving the vanilla essence out, or whatever it is, or the curry powder. They all need to be there to get that blend right. So I'm going to use criteria, and it's something that has to be there in order to really create the best decision with the information that you've got, so that you take that appropriate action. How do we do one thing in life is how we do most things. So it's about keeping it simple for us today. So we get the idea, and you can do this and test it out all the time, and you will come out eventually with your criteria of decision making. And we have a criteria for everything. I promise you, getting out of bed, what to choose off a menu. We have a criteria, and it's great fun if you're a geek like me and love to study these sorts of things. So we're going to keep it simple, as I said. So think about toothpaste. Think about the shop that you normally shop in. The line of toothpaste is in front of you. And I'm going to ask you the top 5 things that you considered in order. They've got to be non-negotiable. They've got to be present. All right. And you can reorder them when you think about it, but think about the top 5 things that had to be there for you to choose the one that you chose. Okay. So you can change yours. Yours will be different. I'm just going to give you an example. So top 5 things: taste. Second, ingredients. It's got to do what it says it's going to do. Price, important. What are the reviews? What do other people say? What's the adverts going on around it? Smell. For me, they're my top 5. Okay. Now think of a bigger purchase. When you've got yours down, now we're going to think and go on to a bigger purchase. And just for the sake of doing this exercise, just do it quickly in your mind. Okay. Imagine going into the car showroom. But before you go to that car showroom, what are the things that you're thinking about that car has to have? Okay. Gut feeling. What do I get in the package? Price. Social media reviews. What if it doesn't smell like leather, ladies and gentlemen? It just ain't leather, These are the things. So if you look at it, we've got a taste. Gut feeling is taste. It's our senses that we're going by. What's on the package? Well, in my toothpaste scenario, it was ingredients. So what's in the package? Is there a winter pack? Paint protection? What am I getting for my money? 3, the price. 3 was the price with the toothpaste. 4, for buying a car, social media reviews, economics, noise pollution, all those sorts of things. Well, 4 was my reviews on my toothpaste. Do I get cavities? Do I get gum disease? 5, does it smell like leather? Because if it doesn't, it ain't leather. Smell of toothpaste is really important to me if it doesn't smell minty and my breath isn't going to be nice and fresh. So you see where I'm coming from? This is the criteria. As soon as you start pulling it out, you will know, you will make better decisions when certain things have to be present. Now go even bigger. Think of the house buying process. When you think about moving house, what is it that comes to mind? Again, for me, gut feeling. It's got to be the look of the house. I like a balanced house. That's really, really important to me. So, but my gut feeling when I see a house is the first thing that I notice. Again, gut, taste, weirdly, don't taste the house, but you do have a taste in houses and a taste in design. Second, what's included, please? Carpets, curtains, integrated appliances, yada yada. 3, Can I afford this? So it's exactly in all three, or all my three examples. 4, what's the house builder's reviews, or what's the neighbourhood crime stats? You look at the reviews on the area that you're buying, what schools are around, what connections with trains, buses, all those sorts of things. What are the reviews of the area I'm looking in? 5, smell. If it's damp, you walk. But the criterias are there, they're set. So think about how you make a decision, how you make a choice will absolutely interrupt that procrastination process that you're going through, and will completely change outcomes because you'll take actions so much quicker. Now, I know this was a bit light-hearted, but the aim is to know what are your non-negotiables, and are you prepared to make a decision which will move you forward? Thinking drives results. Your actions will change your results in incredible growth. You know, it is incremental. Every time you do this, every time you learn something new, you have incremental growth and change. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about tuning that mind in. It takes practice. Your mind is a muscle. So when you manage your mind, you own your results. So consider, what crazy results do you want to achieve? What frequency do you want to be tuning your mind into? And finally, just to say thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me in your ears. I hope it's created some thinking space and sparked some curiosity about your own mindset and given you some insights and takeaways to ponder with a nice cup of tea or a cup of coffee. It's been a pleasure to share my thoughts with you, and I invite you to share yours with me so that we can keep these podcasts really relevant. Email me your suggestions, maybe some of your internal conflicts that you experience. My email address is liz@theguruco.co.uk, or you might want to head over to my website www.theguruco.co.uk, where you can join my email list and find other useful resources. And if you haven't already, before you leave, hit the subscribe button to the podcast so you get a reminder when I do a new listing. See you soon.